Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Taylosive Tech live on Twitch. They have officially shipped, so this was freaking me out for a while. Even yesterday, I was checking the Apple Store order page. By the way, the Apple Store got updated for the iPad to have a side column now. Looks so much better, so much nicer. It's kind of funny though. They have like a separate section for recent orders compared to past orders. My 12.9-inch iPad Pro with mini LED has fallen into the past orders section. I think I could show this. The recent orders are up here, past orders down here. Even though this hasn't arrived yet, it's still considered a past order. Now everything has shipped. So Apple was really pushing it to the last minute on this one, because my iPad had shipped a while ago. It had shipped like over a week ago, but the Apple TV and the iMac had not shipped until I think this morning. Let me see the text. I know I got a text about it. Maybe I didn't get a text about it, but yeah, it was like they're doing next day shipping. They're pushing it really to the last second. So I'm glad they have shipped. That means that unboxings for 3 Apple products should ideally drop tomorrow. I'm still unsure if I want to do edited videos or live streams for them. Fair thing to keep in mind, most of the time my packages do not show up early in the morning. So I know this is probably going to be too late for some of you, or some people aren't going to watch this, but most of the time I get my shipments later in the day. So I'm not going to be able to upload or live stream my unboxings like right away first thing in the morning. Most of the time my packages get here, I think, around 3 or 5 o'clock. So it's probably going to be a later one. And on top of that, I have my second dose of the vaccine tomorrow, later in the day. More like in the evening, like 8 o'clock. So I'm hoping everything gets here before I get vaccinated again. But yeah, I am ready to update the iPad Pro. I've been using it a lot for the past week. You know, this thing has been very good to me. Pretty much every video thumbnail for the past 3-ish years has been made on this. And we've been watching so much TV. A cousin of mine gave me access to his Discovery Plus account we've been using a lot, and we watch so much stuff in bed as well. And this has just been the perfect little mobile laptop, and I'm just very interested and excited watching all the reviews and videos showcasing the mini LED with the extreme dynamic range and how bright it gets, and so many cool things brought to the next one. Center stage, that's something I'm really excited to try, because I do use my iPad for FaceTime a lot. So knowing that it'll be able to track with me, and seeing Marquez's review showing how like basically all of his apps were staying on in the background was kind of interesting. Though I have been noticing that even on my 4 gigs of RAM iPad Pro, apps don't close in the background very often, for me at least. It might be different for you, but I would be going back to apps that I hadn't used in a while and they were still open and stuff. Cyber Octoling, thank you for the 32 months, a 32-month streak. Holy crap. What is the likelihood, in your opinion, that we get hardware at QuadWDC? What is the likelihood? It's so easy to imagine it happening, and it's also so easy to imagine it not happening. So I'm trying to think of the most complicated way I can say I don't know. I don't know. Likelihood, I would say it's a software event. We got a lot of hardware in April. I'll stick to my guns on that one. I'd say 30%. There's a 30% chance of there being hardware. Most likely there won't be, but there is a chance. I know Bloomberg was detailing that we could get some new MacBooks as early as this summer. I'm unsure if that means launching in June, or at least unveiling it in June, and you can order it in July or order it in August or something, but I don't know. I think I've gone into QuadWDC so many times expecting there to be hardware, and then there isn't, that now we're in that crossroads again where it's like, oh, we didn't get any hardware last year, so that means hardware this year, right? And I'm like, yeah, but Apple's also having like 3 events in a quarter, or having April events again. So if they had something interesting hardware-wise, they'd probably already show it. It'd be kind of interesting if at the event they just kind of talked about the M1X chip but didn't announce any hardware that it would be shipping in. They were just like, so the M1 is insanely powerful, and we're so proud of the M1 chip. And we're excited today to announce the M1X chip. And this one has 8 high-performance cores and apparently 2 high-efficiency cores, not 4 for some reason. But that's the new, 10-core M1X chip, and it'll find its way into some Macs later this year, and they don't actually unveil anything. Would that count? Would that actually count as a hardware announcement? Because I would argue that almost doesn't count. 10 bits from Matt Apple. Thought on Apple Watch redesign. I pretty much summed up what I thought in the tweet. I've seen early renders like that for all kinds of stuff, whether it be iPhones, iPads, and Apple Watches, and usually they get little things off. And I don't know, seeing the updated Apple Watch design, I was like, yeah, something about that is off. I think it's the speaker grill for me. The giant grills on the side looked a lot more obnoxious than the speaker grill on our current Apple Watches, and I was like, I'd be very surprised if that ends up being it. And also the Apple Watch bands were kind of attached in a weird way. I don't know. But ultimately, I'm fine with the squared off Apple Watch design. The renders don't look that bad. They're definitely on the cooler, nicer looking render end of squared off Apple Watch concepts I've seen. I still think it's just a little bit too thick, and they could probably get away with a thinner squared off Apple Watch. But yeah, if it helped match my iPhone and iPad better, then I'm all for it. I'm not defending the rounded chassis of the past 6 Apple Watches. I'm like, oh yeah, square that thing off. Design symmetry. The things I like about design symmetry. I like the iPad being squared off and the iPhone being squared off, and hopefully maybe an iMac or a display that's squared off and that kind of thing. The other thing I like with design symmetry is black bezels. We're not going to go there today. I've also noticed we have gotten no software leaks this year, like early builds of iOS 13 and 14 leaked, but nothing this year. I wonder if that's a good or a bad sign. On one hand, I'm like, maybe Apple has just like really locked it down when it comes to software leaks and stuff. But on the other end of it, I'm like, well, maybe there's just nothing new that's that interesting. It's possible that iOS 15 is one of those very incremental, minor update years. But you're right. That's true. We haven't really gotten any software leaks regards to... There's a bunch of requests. I mean, everybody reviewing the M1 iPad Pro is like, they need to update the iPad Pro. They need to give it some Pro-class software. They need to give this thing something that can take advantage of that M1 chip, because as it stands, the M1 is completely overkill. I was using my iPad Pro for photo editing and the thumbnail design today. I'm really proud of today's thumbnail. The video goes live in about 45 minutes, so stay tuned for that. But I enjoyed making this one. It was fun. But I was using Affinity Photo, I was using Over, and I was using the Apple Pencil, and I was just so immersed in this whole iPadOS experience to the point that, yeah, when it comes to having a laptop, a bigger display with a keyboard and trackpad, I'll take the iPad pretty much every day of the week instead of a MacBook. But that's because I have a desktop Mac. Like, my optimum setup is powerful desktop and then iPad 2-in-1. That's my tablet when I want it to be and a laptop when I want it to be. And obviously the weakness of that is not having pro applications on the iPad, but I hope that changes soon. We'll see. Isengard Tom, thank you for the tier 1 sub. They're taking the Hobbits to Isengard. We watched The Hobbit yesterday. It was a good movie. We had 2 major Apple hardware leaks from John. Okay. Good for you, Matt. Thank you for the bits. iPadOS is the one I want to see big updates for. Don't really care about iOS. It seems in a good place. Yeah, I think I mostly agree. The only thing I would request them change is the pop-ups. I don't like when I'm using my phone and then I get a low battery warning and I can't do anything else on the display unless I hit dismiss on the low battery warning. Just turn that into a notification. It doesn't need to override the entire interface. And also, widgets should be interactive. There should be like a Now Playing widget and widgets to let you control things from within the app without having to open the app. Maybe that's too complicated for RAM or something. I don't know. But either way, it was very weird for them to not allow that last year, and I'm guessing that they were just saving it so that they could announce it in a previous year. Those are very small. I don't have a bunch of things I want changed for iOS. There's really not much I can think of anyway. I'm being optimistic. I think iPadOS is going to get a whole lot better. Well, I'd be surprised if it got worse. That would be bizarre. We're actually taking away pro applications. We're going to get rid of LumaFusion, but it still has the M1 chip. Would you rather only have a powerful Mac desktop and no iPad Pro, or the opposite? Ooh. Yeah, probably a desktop. I guess there's likely a lot of things Well, I guess it depends what you're saying. You're saying no iPad Pro? Does that mean I could have an iPad Air or an iPad Mini? Because I would be interested in that. Like, there's there's not a ton of things the iPad does that my iPhone can't do. It's just the iPad is so much better at it, between like multitasking and 120 hertz and Face ID working in multiple orientations. And now the iPad's going to have M1 and USB-C. But if it's just like the majority of stuff I'm using my iPad for, I guess it would be kind of difficult to do video thumbnails. And I guess to answer your question, Yusuf, I would rather take the powerful Mac desktop, because it would be a little bit annoying to have to do video thumbnails on my phone or do them on some kind of desktop application like Pixelmator or Affinity Photo. But I could do it, whereas trying to do all of my pro applications like Final Cut or live streaming OBS like this, trying to do this on the iPad Pro would be a lot harder than just trying to replace a lot of my iPad's uses on the Mac. It can be done, but obviously I'm glad I don't have to make that call. I'm actually really excited for Quadruple UDC, because if it turns out that I can do those more advanced, more high-end video editing or live streaming applications from the iPad, then I won't, I could have the iPad replace my Mac theoretically, but I'll probably still use the Mac desktop just because it'll be faster. 50 bits from Matt says, do you think we will see the redesigned Air and Watch? I don't know why it did not let me finish my last message. Do you think we will get to see the redesigned Air? You mean at any time in the future? You will probably see a MacBook Air redesigned in the next 100 years. Mark my word. That's a reliable leak right there. This year, I've seen a few leakers claim that we would get it later this year. I think Bloomberg was saying something. Oh yeah, I didn't include that in my Apple Silicon video because it was mostly about the M1X and the Mac Pro. But there was a report from Mac Rumors that I didn't go into because I thought of all the Apple Silicon announcements, that one was probably not announcements, but all the Apple Silicon rumors, this one was probably the least interesting. But apparently the next MacBook Air is going to be rocking a improved iteration of the M1 chip. This is from Mark Gurman, who's pretty reliable. And it'll essentially be the same chip as the M1, just with better graphics. So it might be still CPU-wise still better, but I think the Bloomberg report said that it would still be rocking 4 high-performance cores, 4 high-efficiency cores. Yeah, so same number as the M1, except instead of having an 8-core GPU, this one would have a 10-core GPU. And that's what's in store for the M2, because I think that's kind of an interesting discussion we have going on, is we're waiting for the M1X, which is going to have like 8 high-performance cores and 16 and 32-core GPUs. And we're also waiting for the Mac Pro, which is going to have something way higher. It's going to have M1T or M2T or whatever they want to call it. But the M2 chip, how do you improve on the M1 but also not make it substantially better than the M1X or the M2T? So I think the base model one, just the M series that doesn't have an X on the end, or a T or anything, that's just going to be for the entry model Macs, like the Mac Mini, MacBook Air, the M1Z, not the M1Z, but just like M1, M2, M3, that's what the MacBook Air is going to be getting. And it sounds like it's just going to have the same amount of performance and efficiency cores, but with a couple extra graphics cores, which is why I didn't include it in the video. I was like, whatever. Like, okay, the MacBook Air will get a better GPU. Surprise! But I'm trying to look here for when they said that this could happen. I think there were a few people saying that it might launch by the end of this year, which would be kind of early because I'm not used to the MacBook Air getting refreshed annually, but I guess it is Apple Silicon now, right? Like, they don't have to abide by the Intel timelines anymore, so maybe they can get this out by the end of the year. It's possible for sure, but I would still assume it might not come out till next year. There could be other issues. That specific colorful air leak, do you think there's any truth to it? By the way, less lag, knock on wood. Yeah, I'm glad there's less lag so far. As soon as you say that, that's when Starlink's going to start lagging. The colorful one, yeah, I mean, he claims it was the same source as the colorful iMac one, so I believe it. Uh, Sounds reasonable to me that if they were going to have a bunch of color options for the iMac, they would also bring that to the MacBook Air. I just hope that doesn't mean bringing white bezels, as likely as so many people have said that is. I just don't care for the look. I know that the MacBook Air isn't for me, but even if products aren't for me, I can recommend them and say nice things about them, and vice versa. You know, the AirTag isn't for me either, but I had a lot of nice things to say about it, and I was very excited that it exists. And there's a ton of people I would recommend the AirTag to, but it's not for me. So in the similar way, MacBook Air, not for me. And I'm also going to say if it has a white bezel and a white keyboard, that thing's going to look ugly. And I hope Apple takes a look at some of the polls I got, because it seems like a very large number of people don't care for the white keyboard, white bezel thing, and that a large majority of people would much rather have black bezels and black keyboard. But let's not go down that train. It never ends. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple shows off the M1X or whatever at Quadruple UDC and showcases new Macs for it coming in the fall, like what happened with the iMac Pro and Mac Pro. That's what I want to happen, obviously. Like, I don't need them to... Honestly, with how many Apple products I'm buying these days to review, and some I keep, and some I sell, and some I return, I genuinely don't need the redesigned iMac or M1X MacBooks to come out, like, in the next couple weeks. That's just going to be murder on my Apple Card. And I'm like, you know what? Take your time. It would actually be better. It would be more convenient for me if you announced the new designs and we could talk about them and give our speculation on them, but they're not available until later in the year. You know, I'm fine with that. It is a developer conference, so maybe it makes sense to announce the next generation of Apple Silicon there. But yeah, I feel like there's too many times I go into Quadruple UDC expecting hardware and it doesn't happen. That's why I'm just saying go into it assuming there isn't going to be. Let's just taper our expectations a little bit and say, you know what, there will probably not be hardware. If there is, holy crap, that's great. I'm excited, but there's probably not. Let's see. I hope they're going to be a yellow MacBook Air. There's a yellow MacBook Air. I'm getting one. I saw an IRL picture of the yellow iMac, and oh my God, that thing looked like piss. Oh, dang. It looks disgusting. That looks like the urine iMac. I hated it. It looked so weird. None of the iMac colors look good to me. Someone was asking what my favorite iMac color was. I was like, that's like asking me what my favorite disease is. I'm just like, ugh. I've never comparing about, like, it's like people asking for colors on things that don't matter. It's like a desktop. It's just going to sit there. After a while, you get used to the color looking a certain way and you don't even think about it anymore. It's like people requesting different color Apple TV boxes. Like, what new color should the Apple TV come in? Should it come in blue? A blue Apple TV? Should it come in green? Should there be a green Apple TV? I'm like, I don't get, it's going to sit there. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the screen that I was hoping wouldn't have a chin on it. Oh, well. The best iMac colors are yellow and purple, according to Stefan. Yellow iMac reminds me of the yellow 5th gen iPod Touch. Yeah, I don't remember loving that one either. I think my sister had the yellow one. Apple colors for everything but AirPods. Yeah, how much sense does that make? We're going to have wearable headphones that people are going to be seen in all the time. Then when it comes to our desktops, we're going to have lots of color options. But when it comes to our wearables that people have on them, all you can get is white. Only one color. That's it. Apple Watch SE2 should have white bezels because it's entry level, and while they're at it, matte black bezels exclusive to Pro iPhone models. Bro, man, you gotta be joking. I hope you're trolling. Does there need to be an SE2? That's a better question. I think Apple will probably not change the SE Apple Watch this year. They'll probably just leave it. Maybe they'll get rid of the Series 3. I'm kind of surprised they didn't get rid of the Series 3 last year. Like, why the heck are they still selling a watch that's from 2017? The Series 3 is older than the iMac Pro and the HomePod. And yet the iMac Pro and the HomePod got discontinued. So that's a good point. AirPods Max has colors. That's true. Like this argument kind of falls apart a lot of the time for me. Is like people want various color options and white bezels and white accents when you're designing stuff for the pro market, or not for the average consumer. And then for the pro market, you want dark muted colors like space gray and silver, and you want it to be all epic looking and not too colorful. But then AirPods Max exists, and it's like, wait, what are we doing here? Well, but not Pro Max. They're not AirPods Pro, but these only come in one color. So, and then, yeah, there was people suggesting that the 24-inch iMac is supposed to look different from the rest of the iMacs, and it's supposed to be very obviously different because it has Apple Silicon on the inside and because it's a big change to the iMac fundamentally on the inside. But then also we got all these Apple Silicon Macs last year that they didn't get redesigned at all. The Mac Mini, the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, they all were identical, but they all had Apple Silicon in them. So I don't know. The argument holds up when you want it to, but then you have to also ignore a lot of other things they do. It's like, yeah, well, just pretend that didn't happen, and then it makes sense. And the HomePod Mini is meant for, average consumers. It's supposed to be more affordable and approachable, but there's no colors. So, yeah, I guess that one doesn't fit my ideology, so it doesn't fit in there. Oh, well. There could be a chip update since Series 7 is rumored to have a new design. Well, there could, yeah. Series 7 is rumored to have an updated design, and, it could have a new health sensor. That's a whole different discussion. I'm talking about the SE. The Apple Watch SE, I don't think there needs to be a new chip in it, does it? Like, the Series 7 will have a new design, but does the SE need to have an S6 chip in it or something? It already has the S5. That's the second fastest CPU in an Apple Watch. Or is there a bunch of people using the Apple Watch SE that are like, no, this S5 ain't cutting it. I need the S6 chip. Do those people exist? I have a friend with the SE. He really likes it. He asked me if he should get the Series 6 or the SE, and I told him, unless you really, really want an always-on display, don't get the Series 6. I was like, there's really not much of a point. And the price difference, he was buying it through Costco or something. The price difference was like several $100s, and he was like, I don't need it always-on display that bad. Let's see. We will listen to you about a new Apple TV remote, legacy ports, and removing the touch bar. But how dare you ask for more colors? Yeah. That's what I mean. Apple has to have some kind of reason. Like, they are super randomly, sporadically excited to have color options, but not on everything. With AirPods Max, they're like, yeah, we want to be able to, let you express yourself and have, coral and green and blue AirPods Max. And with the new iMacs, yeah, these stationary desktop that doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, you want it to be colorful and bright and vibrant and approachable and friendly. How about my AirPods, Apple? Can we get more AirPods? Oh, my God, how would you ask for such a thing? No, you'll never get multiple colored AirPods. White only. What about, Apple, what about just black? We just want space gray. HomePod Mini comes in white and black. Maybe AirPods could come in black. No, never. How dare you? All AirPods must be white unless they're $550. Then they can be multiple colors. Like, there has to be, I think it's probably some marketing thing. They probably have some marketing department that says, like, the white color with the stem is iconic and recognizable, and we can't stray from that. If it's a different color, it kind of blends into the norm. We can't have multiple color AirPods, but then why don't they have that logic towards AirPods Max? You could have that same argument with those. So why not just make AirPods Max in one or two colors? Just like the HomePod Mini. Also, like, I see the argument being made of, like, the 24-inch iMac is meant to be set up, like, not just at desks, but also in, like, everyday places in the home. Like, you can put it in the kitchen. How many of you guys have, like, families that would put iMacs in the kitchen? Because I always wanted that growing up. I always, like, watched iCarly, and they just had, like, an iMac sitting on the freaking Apple screen. It was a pear in iCarly, but the Apple screen in iCarly didn't have a chin, did it? At one point, that thing was the Apple Cinema display. That thing didn't have a chin. And that was years ago. But the that they want the colors of the iMac to fit into everyday life, and that's where the bezels blend in with the white background, the drywall, and whatever. It's a stupid argument, but they want it to blend into everyday surroundings so it's more approachable. But then the HomePod Mini only has 2 colors. It's like, who the heck puts computers in the kitchen? That's what I'm saying. Like, the only time a computer's in the kitchen is like if it's an iPad or an iPhone, something that you might set there temporarily, but then you take it with you. I'm trying to figure out who are the type of people to get like a desktop all-in-one iMac and just leave that on their countertop. Like, are people doing that? Because I've seen it demonstrated. I've seen it in Apple commercials, but I've never met someone that actually does that in their personal life. Someone's like, oh, what are we going to do with our kitchen Mac? What about my kitchen Mac? Seems to be being marketed as a screen you can put anywhere in the house for Zoom and FaceTime rather than a desktop computer. But it is a desktop computer. But I would still make the argument the iPad is cheaper and you can put it anywhere in the house, and it has a battery, so you can take it to the couch. You can take it in the bathroom for all I care. So for something that's like for FaceTiming around the house, wouldn't you rather have a mobile device? I don't know. It still confuses me. Apple didn't want to make a smart speaker with a screen, so here is a giant iMac. They should have called it the Home Mac. It's like the HomePod Mini, but it's a Mac. That makes sense. Homeschool families tend to have a family computer. Oh yeah, no. People growing up, we had a family computer growing up. I'm not disagreeing with a family computer. I'm just saying, how many family computers were kept in the kitchen? Do you guys have stories of that? Stefan says keeping a computer in the kitchen is dumb, like it's going to get dirty. I agree. And just use something mobile. Mac Home Mac Skinny. That's a good name for it. Homeschool families are often opposed to such a personal device as an iPad. Okay. Do the homeschool families need the M1 chip though? Let's be honest. Just get the $1,100 iMac at that point. That'll, at least they won't have to buy a dongle to plug it into their printer. You're going to need an adapter to plug your old printer into your desktop Mac. Let's see. I'm going to buy a $1,000 computer in my kitchen for video calling and recipes. Apple. Nobody does that. That's what moms use iPhones and iPads for. I agree. I just think it's interesting. There's such like sporadic interest in random markets. It's like, how long have people been asking for Apple to make like a simple, clean-looking standalone monitor? Like ever since the Thunderbolt monitor went away, people have been like, okay, even way back in like 2015 or 14, was it? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Apple unveiled the 5K resolution iMac, and ever since that came out, everyone's like, we want a 5K standalone monitor that doesn't have a computer in it, but we could hook it up to whatever Mac we want, and we could have that 5K resolution. And all Apple did was like, LG has some crap you can pick up, but it looks ugly. And they never wanted to make their own standalone thing, and there's been people asking for that for years and years and years. But then Apple goes ahead and makes a product that nobody's asking for the homeschool kitchen. And they get a colorful Mac that blends into the environment, and I'm like, okay. We do have one in the kitchen, but we also had our own laptops. Jeez. Laptops and kitchen Mac. I'd argue that the iMac is portable. All you have to do is take the magnetic connector off and pick it up. Yeah, but it turns off. I've seen a good argument that why an 11 millimeter does the iMac still need a chin for the computer when the iPad Pro has a mini LED display and a battery at 6.5 millimeters with no chin. Like there's a lot of empty space between the screen and the iMac from the renders Apple showed. I agree. I saw the like teardown videos, not teardown, but like the Apple shows like the X-ray where they show the inside, like what it looks like behind the screen and chin. And a lot of it does look kind of empty. I'll agree. I think that's why, man, every Twitch stream turns back into the iMac, does it? This isn't stopping. What's today? May 20th. It's been a month. This thing has been out for a month, and yet this is what every stream eventually divulges into. It's crazy. Airflow doesn't matter. It's the M1 chip. The iPad also doesn't iPad doesn't have fans either. It should make an iMac that lets you take the display off the stand so you can take it with you like an iPad on a stick. Yeah, they do. It's called an iPad. It's been done. I can 100% guarantee that there's much, much more people asking for a near bezel-less iMac with black bezels than people looking for $1,000 computers to keep in their kitchen for the same use case as an iPad. I agree with you, Yusuf. I think so too. The iMac is so interesting to talk about. What are you going to say about the new iPad? It's good. That's true. I think the iMac is so just perplexing. It's so divisive. It like so many like Stefan and Nick love the look. There's a lot of people that love the look and they're in love with that design. We have a dining room table Mac for eating with Grandpa while he's in hospice. Wow. Dining room table Mac for eating. Why not just a laptop? I'm trying to understand what the advantage of, I don't know. They should make a miniature iPad for making calls, jotting down quick notes, and taking photos. You guys got all kinds of good ideas. Lots of people love the design, and a lot of people despise it, and a lot of people hate it, and I think that's why it's become the subject of so many Twitch streams. And I'm excited to finally see it in person, and it'll be sitting on my desk here tomorrow. That's crazy to think about. I have not unboxed that many iMacs, if you think about it. I like my first tech video ever, like before the tech channel even existed. I filmed the unboxing of my 2012 iMac. And then I don't think I got another. I guess I filmed my friend unbox his 5K iMac, but it wasn't mine. And I think that might still be on the tech channel. I can't remember if it's private or not. There were a bunch of old cringy tech videos that I privatized, but I've been unpublishing them. If you go to the tech channel and you go to videos and sort by oldest, you'll find some cringy surprises. Did I get it with any spec bumps? No, I just got the mini LED base model. I have 64 gigs on my current iPad Pro and I've never run into an issue. If they announce Final Cut or Mac OS support for the iPad in June, I might return the mini LED one or maybe just sell it and then get a higher storage configuration. But I don't actually think that's going to happen. I just really, really want it to happen, but I don't think it will. So because, let me see how much storage I've used up. On my 2018 iPad Pro, it's calculating now. We need a Tailosive Cringe channel. That's every Tailosive channel, obviously. I've used 38.9 gigs out of 64 with my current iPad, and I'm still using this thing all the time. I don't download a bunch of movies and TV shows, and I don't like dump a bunch of video footage on it very regularly. So 128 gigs I think will be fine. I don't foresee myself running out very quickly. The iPad Pro should easily be able to run Mac apps. Yeah, even the non-M1 iPad Pro should be able to be fair. Now Starlink's acting up. If the next iMac has black bezels, I'm going to put a white sticker over it. Ew. Now that's cringe. Let's see. Looks great. The front, not so much in my opinion, but not terrible either. I would say terrible. I'll go that far. I don't think Apple needs to add macOS, but they should add macOS app compatibility to the iPad, similar to how the M1 Max can run iOS and iPadOS apps. That would be interesting. I just don't know how portable over they are, like, because obviously a lot of Mac apps are not optimized for touch. So if you just started booting them onto the iPad, that would be kind of clunky. Wonder how the Watch S series chip compares to low-end phone processors. The thing is, the Apple Watch just has a very low screen resolution, so the graphics it has to output is incredibly low compared to most smartphones. I think the Apple Watch resolution is like below 480p. It's pretty low. The issue with macOS apps on the iPad is that Mac apps rely on the openness of macOS. They wouldn't work in the sandbox environment of iPadOS. I think there would be issues with that too. I just think that if you let people dual boot the iPad into running macOS, it would save so much time because it's going to take years. I know that it would make more sense and it sounds more logical. Like I'm on that side of things too. It makes more sense that iPadOS would The iPad would only run iPad OS, and it would just get better over time and get more pro features and get better applications. But there's such a there's such a never-ending list of things that people say about the Mac can do this and the iPad can't, and it's not all going to come out with one update. Like every year we'll probably get a couple more things, like, oh, they added this one cool feature but it still doesn't do this, and then the next year, oh, they added this one cool feature but it still doesn't do this. Whereas if they just gave up and went, okay, screw it, boot camp on the iPad, you can now boot it into macOS mode if you feel like it, that would save a lot of time. Suddenly every argument you have that the Mac can do this but the iPad can't, all of that would suddenly all fall apart. You could now say, all right, terminal commands, Xcode, all those pro applications, your Safari extensions, your Chrome extensions, all of that stuff you could instantly just download onto the iPad as long as you were willing to dual boot. And yeah, that argument, it would all be done pretty quick. You can use a keyboard and mouse with iPad, so apps bringing clunky with touch isn't a problem, assuming you have a keyboard and mouse. If you don't have a keyboard and mouse, I could see Apple being hesitant, like if someone is just using an iPad. iOS and iPadOS apps can only be used with touch which the Mac doesn't have support for. Right. I just think that you can use a touch-based app with a keyboard and mouse a lot easier than you can use a keyboard and mouse-based app with a touchscreen. My iPhone 12 Pro Max is 128 gig, and my Air 4 is 256. Apple TV 4K is 64. Apple Watch Series 6 is 32 gigs, plus I pay $3 a month for iCloud storage. Man, I'm curious why you as well. I did the same thing. I don't know why, but why did you get the 64 gig Apple TV? Were you running out of space on your last Apple TV, or did you think you would run out of space? Because I don't understand the point in local storage on that thing for the most part. Are the games that big? The Series 6 is just two 813 low-power cores, at least CPU-wise. Oh, interesting. Does anyone use the 32 gigs on the watch? No, but that's the only configuration. All the Apple Watches, I think, since the Series 5 and Series 6 both have 32 gigs, but there's no way to get less than that. Yeah, you can put a bunch of pictures on it, which is kind of stupid, but you can. And you can put a bunch of music. You can download a bunch of music to it offline. But other than that, yeah, I agree. 32 gigs is overkill for a watch, but there's no way to get less. There was a way to get less space than 64 gigs on the Apple TV, which is why I'm curious why Heel Beavens. Were you running out of space in your TV? Weirdest sentence. Yeah, that's 2021 for you. I would be happy with better extended display support, a bit more flexibility with floating windows, widgets wherever we want them. That's what I'm saying. We might not get it this year, but we might get a couple things this year. Whereas if they just booted it straight to macOS, we would be all done. This whole argument would be over very quickly. It would be like, oh, great. iPad can be a Mac if it wants to. At least the iPad Pro can. Oh, wow. I think I inspired Dbrand to make a meme on Twitter. That's funny. Okay. Apple Watch storage is dumb, though, because it is max 8 gigabytes of media. I don't know how big the operating system is. I feel like watchOS probably starts to take up more and more space over time. But if it doesn't cost them much to throw in 32 gigs, I guess, why bother? Why not have more storage? I don't mind having the base storage option higher if it doesn't hurt anything. And so far, I don't think it really has. Apple Watch does not allow offline music for other services than Apple Music. I would love that with Spotify. Does it not allow it? I thought I read somewhere that there was some other streaming service that was going to allow it. But maybe I'm misremembering something. Let me look it up real quick. I thought I read some service was allowing it. Apple Watch, offline music. Oh, Deezer. Deezer beats Spotify to Apple Watch offline listening. This is an article from The Verge. Spotify could add it if they wanted to. They just discontinued their Apple Watch app. Wait, what? What do I have on my watch then? What is this? What does it do? I still have Now Playing control. They don't let me download things to it, but for paid subscribers, music streaming service Deezer revamped its Apple Watch app to let you listen to music without an internet connection, as the company has announced. Offline listening has previously been available with Apple Music as well as Pandora. So Pandora also allows this. It's just Spotify doesn't. Huh. So I don't think it's an Apple problem. It's a Spotify thing. What the heck is Deezer? I've never heard of Deezer. Deezer. That's not it. My point is that you can't use that 32 gigs because you can only store a maximum of 8 gigs of music plus podcasts. At 8 gigs, it stops allowing you no matter how much storage space is left. So I'm guessing the rest they just leave for the software, which I don't know how big watchOS is. The only problem, nobody uses Pandora. That's true. Pandora has kind of turned into the BlackBerry of streaming services. It was like, yeah, you guys were here in the very beginning, but I don't know how the heck you're still alive. How is Pandora not dead yet? I don't know anybody who still uses Pandora. Does anyone here still use Pandora? I don't. Oh, Deezer is a European streaming service. Oh, that's probably why I've never heard of them. But I did see that article. I was like, I believe Apple does let you download music to the watch. They're just, Spotify is like, no. You'd think watchOS would take up like 1 gig. Yeah, you think that. All those complications, all those different watch faces. Every animation of Woody and Buzz and Jessie and Mickey Mouse. All of those different watch faces and all the infinite customization of the emojis that go on there. That's probably taking up a bunch of space. Pandora is part of Sirius XM now. Oh, is that why they're still around? Well, wait, why is Sirius XM a thing if Pandora? Man, I know so little about them. I'm sorry. My parents used Pandora a little bit when they were younger, but they stopped. They stopped as soon as Spotify or YouTube. I don't actually know what they use now. I can't remember. I have it, but don't use it. I hope you don't pay for it. I saw on Reddit today, Spotify is rolling out offline music on Apple Watch as we speak. Oh, sweet. Well, that'll be much nicer because when I go on my runs, I don't take my phone with me. So I've just been using the music I own. There actually is some music that I still have from the days pre-Apple Music when you had to buy it off iTunes. The other 20 gigs is used to store Apple Fitness Plus workouts. That's what it is. They got to fill you up with the Fitness Plus glory. I have Apple Arcade, but don't use it. I hope you're not paying for this crap. Oh, my goodness. Will the Dolby Atmos and lossless music come to the Android version of Apple Music? My OnePlus has Dolby Atmos support, so I was wondering. If I read correctly, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe yes. I believe that the Apple Music updates were not being exclusive to Apple hardware. If anything, they're actually exclusive to non-Apple hardware because lossless doesn't work on any AirPods, wired or wireless. And there seems to be a lot of hope in the market that there's suddenly going to be a miraculous update that magically adds Wi-Fi chips to every AirPod, and that will suddenly make them all compatible with AirPlay, and then they'll all get lossless. I know. It sounds very believable, right? But apparently that's what some people think is going to happen. But I don't think AirPods Max are designed for lossless. I think they were fundamentally, at the core, designed for AAC, and that's why they're not going to get lossless. Let's see. For Dolby Atmos, for non-Apple headphones, you must enable it in the settings. Okay. So if you don't have Apple-branded headphones, you have to go into settings to turn it on. What if you're using AirPods on Android? Will it turn on by default then? Probably not. There are 2 Spotify apps, by the way. Do you prefer Apple Music, Spotify, and or YouTube Music? When it comes to just the UI and the layout of music libraries, I still prefer Apple Music. Spotify is trying to merge podcasts and music and albums and playlists together, but it's not. Spotify is not bad. I don't think Spotify is a horrible user interface and layout. It's just a little more clunky, in my opinion, than Apple Music is, and I'm not willing to spend $10 or even $8 or $5 a month just so that the layout of my music application can be a little nicer. That's not worth it to me. considering I'm getting Spotify for free from my brother-in-law. So that's why I'm fine with Spotify. It works great. Spotify has their own kind of iconic, recognizable user interface. I applaud them for making it kind of individualistic. It has kind of a style to it with the font, and I actually prefer on Spotify when you pause music, it fades out. And when you play it again, it fades back in. And Apple Music doesn't do that. And I noticed it as when I switched to Spotify, and I was like, ooh, that's nice. That feels smooth. I'm kind of surprised Apple Music doesn't do that. But yeah, it feels like not as jarring when you pause music or continue music. With Apple Music, it's like the Spotify, it kind of fades its way out. It's a little detail, but it's one that I do appreciate. And YouTube Music's pretty clunky. The UI and the layout for YouTube Music was pretty jarring. I didn't care for it. But if my brother-in-law said, actually, Spotify Premium is costing me too much, we're just gonna take you off that, I would still go back to YouTube Music. I wouldn't go to Apple Music if I couldn't have Spotify, because I am definitely paying for premium, YouTube Premium. I just use YouTube way too much. Me and my wife watch more YouTube than pretty much anything. So being ad-free on that and being able to download videos and stuff off YouTube, and knowing that it's still supporting the creators I watch and stuff, that's the way to do it for me. And that comes with YouTube Music. So there's no way I'm backing off that. So if Spotify isn't available for free, then I'll go back to YouTube Music. If YouTube Music went away, I don't know. I'd probably play music through the YouTube app or something like that. What are your iMac Pro specs? I remember you saying it was pretty specced out. Not really. It's basically the base model with 2 terabytes of storage. Other than that, everything is like the lowest end configuration. It's actually in the video that's about to drop. I show the tech specs. It'll drop in 7 minutes. Okay, but I'll read them for you just to remind you, Dr. Pez. It's a 3.2 gigahertz 8-core Intel Xeon W with 32 gigabytes of 2666 megahertz DDR4 RAM with a Radeon Pro Vega 56 8 gigabyte GPU. And multi-core score, it still beats the M1, and in export times in Final Cut, it still comes ahead of the M1 about twice as fast. But when it comes to real-time playback and opening applications and boot up times, the M1 is faster than my iMac Pro. It's just that one metric, which is kind of an important one, export times, where my iMac Pro is still a bit faster. That's the primary reason I haven't switched to Apple Silicon yet. But the tech video that's about to drop is very much about what my next Mac is going to look like. It's a bit more personal. Isn't the M1 clocked at like 3.3 gigahertz? Gigahertz is not a great measurement of speed. I don't know why we use it. It's not really that useful because you can have pretty high gigahertz speeds on pretty crappy processors. Is that why you can't use the M1 for your work? I definitely could. Like, I'll go on the record and say if my iMac Pro died right now, like if right in the middle of live streaming, it just exploded. It goes Galaxy Note 7 on me and it was dead and I needed to upload videos for, unbox it. Well, I would be getting the M1 iMac tomorrow, so I guess I would probably use that for a little bit. But I would not keep it. I'm not keeping the M1 iMac. No, thank you. I don't like the bezels or the chin. But if I needed a new Mac to replace my iMac Pro right now, I would get the Mac Mini. The M1 is fast enough. I can still live stream and do all my exporting off of it if I need to. It's just the iMac Pro is faster. So it doesn't make sense for me to get rid of the iMac Pro and replace it with an M1 Mac. It would slow down my workflow. The boot up times of applications and the OS and the real-time playback within Final Cut is a lot less laggy on the M1, and that's what I really, really enjoyed about it. There's still some times where, I'm doing a bunch of stuff on my iMac and I'm trying to play back video on the Final Cut timeline and it starts to get a little choppy and I'm just like, come on, let's go. And I didn't have that problem with the M1 chip. So it's better than my iMac Pro in a few metrics, but just one that it's slower in. It just happens to be a pretty crucial one. You keeping your Series 6 watch or upgrading to the Series 7? Oh, if the Series 7 has a redesign, I kind of really want to get one, but I haven't talked to my wife about that. It's going to be kind of hard to convince her. So, honey, This new watch is squared off on the edges, and that makes me prefer it. So we need to spend money on that. It's gonna be like, what? What's wrong with the 6? It might depend on if I can sell my Series 6 for a good price. It would definitely make me want to upgrade watches, but I just am not willing to spend that much. I don't know. I'm trying to be more financially responsible these days. So, yeah. How do you see the new iMac to do some music production? It's probably fine. Just, I'd recommend you get the Mac Mini over that and save yourself some money. Get yourself a better looking monitor. What are they going to add to watchOS this year? All I want for watchOS is it to become the key to the ecosystem. Like if you could just unlock your iPhone, unlock your iPad, unlock your Mac, as long as you had your Apple Watch nearby, you didn't have to like be wearing a mask for it to unlock that way. That's pretty much all I want for the watch. Apple announces brand new 64 gig Apple Watch storage option for so you can download pro applications. Yeah, Final Cut comes to the watch before the iPad. Dang it! Probably already answered this, but I just got here. Did I buy a 12.9 inch for review? Yes, gets here tomorrow, as does the Apple TV, as does the 24 inch iMac. I'm getting it all. We're going to have a lot of unboxings to do tomorrow. I want them to add video playback to watchOS. You can actually play videos on your watch if they get sent to you via iMessage. Did you guys know that? I've done it a few times. If someone sends you a video via iMessage, it'll play. It'll come out like speakers will work. It'll play the noise from the video. It's like the only way to get a video playing on there. No, I got mini LED. I don't care about no 11-inch M1 iPad Pro. Screw that crap. Very surprising Apple didn't give the smaller one mini LED. But that's what the leakers were saying, and everyone was like, no, Apple would never do that, and then they did it. So there's some weight in these leaks. Sorry for the lag. I see it. The iPad can't run macOS because macOS has a calculator. Oh, that's the problem. If they put macOS on the iPad, it would have a calculator app, and that's not okay. No. Yusuf, you didn't know that? Come on, that was like the biggest deal. The 11-inch iPad Pro doesn't have mini LED, the new one. Only it's exclusive to the 12.9-inch variant. Do you think there will ever be a need for a new Apple Pencil in the next few years, or has it already become good enough? I think if they redesigned the iPad mini, they could use a new Apple Pencil, like an Apple Pencil Golf Edition, one that's like shorter, so it could snap onto the iPad mini, but you could still hold it comfortably. I could see them making an Apple Pencil that connects to the iPad Pro and iPad Air, but also has Lightning on the end, so you could connect it to the budget iPad or the iPad mini via Lightning. If they made one pencil that could do the job of both, that would be kind of interesting. Kind of wasteful to those who already have a Pro and Air. It's like, oh, I'm never going to use this Lightning connector, but whatever. But yeah, I don't have many other thoughts than that. I guess a black one would be nice. Color options, Apple, please. Or a new Apple Pencil with ultra wideband. If you could, Apple Pencils, I think, are a lot more likely to get lost than the Siri remote. Siri remote, I'm like, that's always going to be in the same room. The pencil, though, people take that with them. Making an Apple Pencil that works with the Find My network, even if it's more expensive, I could see a lot of people opting for that because they lose their pencil a lot. It gets left at school, gets left at work, gets left at a desk somewhere. They want to track it down. Adopting a speaker into a design like this might be too unreasonable, so just putting in the U1 chip compatibility to a device like this, I don't know how possible it is, but yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. Is the 12.9-inch easier to use on bed to watch media? Something like keep it on your stomach and watching? Keep it on your stomach. I think if you're getting an iPad, you're probably going to want at least a folio cover. You don't have to get a keyboard, but at least get some kind of cover that it allows it to prop itself up in some way. I don't think I would say it's easier to use in bed to watch media. The 11-inch is probably just as easy. If you're watching content that close, like you're propping it up on your stomach, The 11-inch is still probably going to be fine. It's just not going to be an XDR display like the mini LED one is. Just tape an AirTag to your Apple Pencil. It looked like a little Apple lollipop. You know, you could have the AirTag up here. That's a great idea. Affection says, U1 chip, colors, and something else small that Apple thinks of. I like that suggestion. What should Apple do on the next Apple Pencil? They should think of something and then add it. Wow. That's a good idea. Apple comes up with an idea and then they implement it. I like this plan. They should do that more often. Makes perfect sense. So yeah, the tech video just dropped. I'll be wrapping up the stream in a second here. I'm just making sure the tweet gets sent, but okay. That's going to be this the prime device category, Apple Lollipop. Yeah, exactly. That Lightning idea for the Apple Pencil 2 is actually really smart and makes buying an Apple Pencil much easier for the average consumer. I agree. It's just kind of weird if they've been selling the Apple Pencil 1 and 2 for so many years. If they just found a pencil that could do both. So now when consumers come in, they just buy one pencil and that's it. But, you know, at that point, if people use a budget iPad or an iPad mini and then upgrade, that old Apple Pencil is going to be useless, I guess. And Apple would rather you buy a second Apple Pencil when you upgrade your iPad rather than allow you to reuse your old Apple Pencil on your next one. They already have the assembly lines for both pencils. Well, yeah, but that's not a reason to keep something around. We already have the assembly line for the original HomePod, but they decided to scrap that. What days do I live stream, or you just follow a schedule randomly? It's not a very strict schedule. I tend to stray from it a bit, but for the most part, I'll go live Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes Saturdays. I try to basically do it every other day in my work week, and I take Sundays, Mondays off. Sometimes, though, if schedules get rearranged, I'll stream on whenever I can. You know, if my wife is for some reason working on some day, then I'm like, okay, I'll just do a Twitch stream. But my general rough schedule is Tuesday, Thursday, and then maybe Saturday. I'm on my second first-gen pencil because the first one started cracking. Ooh, that's terrible. That's not good. You keeping the new iPad? If I can sell my old one, yes. Even if it doesn't get Final Cut, I think it's time. I've had this one for almost 3 years, and, you know, I'm kind of excited to try out the mini LED display. So assuming I can sell my old one for a good price, then yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm keeping it. If no one wants to buy it and I can't get a good offer on it and there's no Final Cut announcement or anything, then there's a chance I might send it back. But for the most part, I think I will keep it. Been really loving the different guests on the tech podcast. Do you know when Randy will be back? I think this week, yeah. I think this next episode. He's made it to his new location, so he's moved. So I believe he should be on next week's podcast. What's funny is no one knew MKBHD was going to come on. That was a total secret. Nick and Randy did not know. They were both unavailable. Nick was gone. Randy was gone. And they were like, do you just want to not have an episode? And I said, don't worry about it. I'll find a guest and I'll do the editing. I'll take care of it. And then Marquez got back to me. So that was fun. I'm glad he made the time to do that. I enjoyed talking with him again. iPad Pros need to be like the iPad Air 4th generation, have different colors. But I thought colorful is for entry model. Colorful is for cheap consumer product. Space gray and silver are for pro product, unless it's an AirPods Max. Then the colors are for the high end, and there's no colors for the low end. This is how Apple designs it, unless it's not that. I need the bezel-less iPad mini. Would be the perfect device for college. I agree. That would make me tempted to ditch my iPhone if they made a bezel-less iPad mini. That would be awesome. Nice Big Mac on the new video thumbnail. Yeah, I knew I had to make a Big Mac joke. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it and appreciated it. My 5-year-old 9.7-inch iPad Pro is showing its age. Going to upgrade this time, probably to 11-inch. As long as you don't care about XDR, then yeah, 11-inch should be pretty overkill. But I would also really, really encourage you to check out like an 11-inch iPad Pro from 2020 from Best Buy, because those are cheaper, and the previous generation, the A12Z chip for day-to-day stuff, I don't think is going to be that different from the M1. The A12Z is still plenty fast for an iPad. So if that's what you plan on using your iPad for, like general media consumption and stuff, probably be fine with just a 2020 version. There's not a huge number of reasons to upgrade to the M1 variant. Does Apple not realize pro users can like colors and entry-level users can like black? Yeah, I don't know why that has to be such a... you know what? I'll end the stream with this. This is the last thought of the day. I wouldn't mind having white bezels on the MacBook or iMac as long as there was an option to have black bezels. As long as that was one of the color choices. You make all your white bezel MacBook Airs you want. As long as there's a space gray one with black bezels, I'll take that one. I'll be like, okay, there's a good looking one, but I ain't getting the white bezel one. Anyway, appreciate you guys for the bits, for the Twitch Primes. Really fun chatting with you all. Hope you enjoyed today's tech video. It's live on the channel now. Feel free to give it a watch or don't. I don't really care. Do whatever you want. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.